fuck yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Maybe I have a chance. You goddamn crocodile! Go back to the fucking Florida! Go back to the Florida, you fucking crocodile! Welcome to... Welcome to... Welcome to... สวัสดีกระมังกระเช็คตัวซันชาเนลูสต้นตปะฮูปะฮูฮายดิซี่
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Legal Mindset here, coming at you from Bangkok, Thailand. It is about 8:06 p.m. over here in Bangkok time, and it's good to be with you. Of course, as Legal Mindset, we teach you to be your own judge. We're having a pretty relaxed stream here today. We got a pretty good topic to get through. Now we are supposed to have a guest, which he's a little bit tardy right now, but that said, I can get through some of the basics of this and also run some of the basic stuff. Hold on one second. Let me make sure. Might have the wrong StreamYard link. Hold on one second, guys. But that said, good to see everybody here today. We got some people. Let me see. Japanese Demon Lord Abari Lucifer. Corporate Bridge will fail. It started as run by a woke white woman. Gives me an example of where one of these has been successful. It really hasn't. It really hasn't. We're going to talk about DEI today because obviously part of this CrowdStrike issue is whether or not this is influenced by DEI, and whether or not it is, it still is going to be very, very significant, right, in terms of the impact, right, regardless of that. But in every case, I've seen them try to implement DEI or try to go with it. It's always ended up not good. No bueno. So real quick, let me just make sure I've got everything set up here correctly. There we go. So there we go. Good stuff. All right. So I'll get our guest on here in a second. He's setting up his camera. Douglas Diaz, 5 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you so much there. Appreciate that. And Mazarova Palma with 50. Thank you so much, you absolute Chad. Holy shit.
Not a sin. I cannot absolve you. Mega based.
Thank you so much, Mazarova Palma. So much. Appreciate that very, very much. Thank you for that. It is absolutely great that you dropped that and you help me, help you guys. And also, just to mention real quick, we are going to be I'm going to start a giveaway. I mentioned this on my other stream, but for members, especially members at the BLM level, we're going to start doing a monthly giveaway. I'm going to get some details on that on the members only stream, which will be the next stream I do other than this stream. So we'll talk a little bit more about that on next stream. But thank you so much, Masaro Paula. Absolutely based of you. And JP Ravenfire with 10 Legal Mindset memberships. Thank you, JP. Really great gifters today. You guys are doing great. Appreciate that. Mazarova Palma says stream at a reasonable hour. Yay. I need to go back to doing these time streams because I feel like there's a certain segment of my audience that really likes these streams. The only problem is these PM Asia streams. That's like the time when everyone wants to meet with me or go out or whatever else. So it does conflict like usually. And frankly, if my brother wasn't busy right now, he's visiting Bangkok, I would be hanging out with him. But it's good because it allows me to get into this topic very easily. So thank you, JP. Appreciate that. And thank you, Mazarova Palma. Thank you both. You guys are great. And thank you for those gifts. Arizona Anime Fan says, I'm a system admin. CrowdStrike writes all the federal cybersecurity requirements. They will not be punished. They're the only game in town as a #1 software solution. Deep ties to Clintons. Okay, I'm going to get back to that question. First, let me introduce my guest. He's over there in Poland, but he'll be back in Thailand soon. And that's my good friend Ryan of Elevate Cyber. Ryan, how's it going, brother? Oh, you're muted. You're muted.
All right, yeah, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, CrowdStrike took out my computer before. That's why I couldn't join in time, but we worked around it. So very good to see you again, Andrew.
Hey, good to see you, man, and I'll see you again soon. Well, hopefully you weren't caught in any of this, right? Because you're in Poland. You haven't been moving around since you got there, right?
No, yeah, and this is like mostly affecting people that pay for. I mean, only affecting people that pay for the CrowdStrike security solution, which is mostly companies and stuff like that. So it's like a basic user. I don't, use it.
So, so obviously, there's like the queues at the airports, right? You guys are probably seen them, but it's in London. Yeah. So it got the app and it got the auto check-in desk. Oof. Okay, so Ryan, before we get anywhere and start with this, obviously that's just a little bit of the taste there to get us started. Do you want to tell people about yourself, a little bit about yourself and kind of your background as we end up talking before we talk about CrowdStrike?
Yeah, sure. And I apologize to everyone. I'm not on my normal setup since I'm in Poland. Hopefully the audio is good enough. I kind of did a little testing beforehand. Okay, great. Yeah, so I'm Elevate Cyber. So essentially I worked for about 8 years in the field of offensive security. So I was basically hired to do what's called penetration testing and red teaming. So basically I tried to hack into the company that I worked for so that they could see like, okay, if we got attacked, like what are the, what would happen if we got attacked by real attackers, or how secure are we actually? So that is an area that, I started on the side. I started mentoring people to get into cybersecurity, to get into offensive cybersecurity, the defensive side as well. And started making some content on YouTube about 4 years ago now, and started like a bit of a consultancy on the side, a mentoring program where I have been helping people get into the field and things like that.
Yeah, and that's one thing that how I know you. I know a lot of guys who are thinking about cybersecurity, especially younger guys, right, who want to get into it. They can hit you up and they can contact you, right? And you're there on YouTube, obviously, and then you're also on Twitter, right? Is there another
Instagram, TikTok as well? Yeah, Elevate Cyber is my name pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, so just look him up on any of those platforms. I'll add his Instagram because I didn't have that added yet, but I'll add that in there to the description so you guys can see that. And hit him up, contact him if you want consultation or want to try to learn that, because he's doing a really good job of training guys of that. But obviously, look, I'm a fucking boomer, so like I really don't understand much of this at all. So obviously, I'm happy to have you on to explain this to us and kind of break it down. Let's see. But yeah, so going back to this one here. I guess this will help us get a little background on CrowdStrike. Are they really the only game in town? Are they really the only one software solution, that is used by the federal government and others? I mean, is that an accurate description in this?
I wouldn't say they're the one game in town. They're the biggest ones in terms of like they were before this. Like they were the ones that everyone said was like leading the pack in terms of EDRs. That's what we're talking about here. It's what's known as endpoint detection and response. Mm-hmm. So that is the software that they are known for. And there are other companies that do the same thing at a pretty high level as well, but they were kind of leading the pack, which is why we saw it affect so many computers, so many companies.
Across the world, right?
Across the entire world, yeah.
Yeah, they're not just like isolated to we just do things in Britain or Australia or wherever.
I would equate it to like search engines, right? Google is not the only search engine in town. Like you can use other ones, but it's the biggest one. Or like YouTube for video platform, right? So it's kind of like that.
Right. So if Google went down, it's like, yeah, there's other search engines, but it's like,
maybe that's even a little bit of an overestimation, because there's other alternatives that are pretty close to what they're doing. So I think that I don't think that they are completely immune in the same way as like Google would be, I would say.
I found what I thought was helpful for me, because I'm a dumbass, a like 3-minute video explaining what happened. So maybe we could take a look at that, and you could like tell me whether it's accurate or provide other details or tell me when to pause.
Yeah, I can kind of translate.
Yeah, translate it for us. Also, Chipmunk of Vengeance, welcome. Thank you for joining at the base legal mindset level, which is my highest tier level. Thank you. This is the only BLM that matters is the base legal mindset. So thank you very much, Chipmunk. Appreciate you, brother, and welcome to the group. Also, Stephen Miller asked, how was my day? My day was very good. I had a good day. I went and bought a bunch of stuff. I went to like a local market here and I bought like a week of groceries for like $20, you know, so it's really awesome. You know, just having a good day, just having a really good day.
Yeah, the prices here in Warsaw are great as well. Every day that I go to the grocery store, I spend like $3 to $5 or something. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I love living abroad. Mark Daniel Lopez says, another stream, another what did I miss? You've missed nothing yet, but I appreciate your super chat. You're good. Let's see here. Oh, and I'll read this one here. Zinth25 says, morning, Andrew. I work for the UPMC Health Network in the US, and word around the company is we had roughly 22,000 machines affected. So
yeah, I don't want to be on that IT team.
No, that's pretty bad. So this one is one once again short video. It's like 3 minutes or less. Sure. And I'm skipping the intro here and getting into like the explanation of what just happened for the layman, for the simple people like myself.
Panic mode right now because everybody's work computers are bricked, and that means the hamsters can't keep spinning the wheels. A huge number of Fortune 500 companies use Crowdstrike for cybersecurity. It's got over 500 clients on the Fortune 1000 list. Its primary product is called Falcon, a tool.
By the way, I used to play Falcon all the time in N64, the original Smash Brothers. Just as a side note.
Provides endpoint protection using artificial intelligence and analytics to detect threats in real time. It is publicly traded and its stonk is down right now, and for good reason, because everybody's blaming them for causing Windows to deliver its blue screen of death.
I mean, it's okay. So in terms of assigning blame, let's stop there real quick. It's pretty much, that's pretty accurate, right? I mean, I think the blame is definitely on them. You'd say more so than Microsoft or any other party.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's basically like they delivered a broken product and they're blaming the platform. It's kind of like if you created like some slanderous YouTube video and got kicked off of YouTube, and then you're like, oh well, YouTube is the reason.
Right. Like YouTube sucks, and I'm like, well, you know, you did a bad thing that you knew was bad, and you did it anyways. You're blaming YouTube.
Yeah.
Speaking of good things, though, Leprechaun Gold, thank you for the $10 super sticker. Appreciate you. Just sending a super sticker. Thank you. Let's continue.
Luckily, Mac OS users and Linux chads are unaffected. To understand why, we first need to
fucking Linux chad. I just can't
understand how Crowdstrike's Falcon sensor actually works. It's installed just like regular software, but integrates with the operating system at a low level, often using kernel mode drivers, and basically just sits there in the background looking for anomalies. It collects telemetry data, produces reports, and offers a bunch of other incomprehensible techno-nonsense products to justify multi-million-dollar enterprise contracts. But the bottom line is that it's third-party software that sits in the critical path of a computer, which means if it fails, the entire computer might fail. And that's exactly what happened here. Apparently, an automated software update last night had some bad code in it, and every computer that got that update is now dead. Now, part of the reason this is really bad,
oh my god, is this bad?
Is that it's not just a regular outage, but every affected computer needs to be rebooted in fail mode, so the driver can be removed manually. And most employees don't have access to do that on their own, and that means IT guys are going to be really busy today. It's the IT guy.
So this is typically, so the IT guy that will be working on this is usually someone within the company or a third party, right? So, or you'd have to contract out.
Yeah. So for a lot of the companies that have a ton of servers, they probably have their own IT team that manages all that. So they are the ones responsible for going in and like manually fixing all these. That's one of the big issues with this one, is like there's no automated fix.
Yeah.
Equivalent of being a surgeon in World War I. And the consequences are real. The London Stock Exchange was disrupted. Most Indian airports went down, causing them to write boarding passes by hand, along with a ton of other issues.
Now that was, by the way, that was a meme. This actually did not happen. Although it's really funny, that didn't actually happen. That would be hilarious, though. Not gonna lie.
with a ton of other issues. To CrowdStrike's credit, they were quick to point out that it's not a security incident or cyber attack and explained it this way.
Yeah, listen, we fucked up.
But they were quick to fix it, and the fix is really easy. All you have to do is detach the operating system disk, create a snapshot or backup of the disk, mount a volume to a new virtual server, navigate to the WinDir drivers directory, locate the file c0000291.sys and delete it, detach the volume from the new virtual server, then reattach the fixed volume to the impacted virtual server. Piece of cake, but option 2 is to go to Home Depot and buy a sledgehammer, then use it to uninstall Microsoft Windows and switch to Linux. I do feel really bad for the programmer who updated this driver though, because the tech lead's about to run git blame and blame them for this whole mess. Not only is this person about to get fired, but they also have blood on their hands for shutting down the hospitals, transportation networks, and Arby's family restaurants that we need to survive. If you're that guy and you're watching this, don't feel too bad though. What we have here is a situation where the cure is more harmful than the disease. Public megacorporations are under a ton of pressure to secure their computer systems, and they're constantly audited by third parties. A company like Macy's isn't going to go out and hire a team of 100 cybersecurity weirdos. Instead, they'll pay a company like CrowdStrike a few $1 million a year to figure out cybersecurity for them, giving them someone else to blame when their system gets hacked.
That's the price right there?
Oh yeah, it sounds about right. They're raking in
Per
money.
device?
Yeah, I
They
bet.
charge per
Yeah,
device.
probably so. I wouldn't doubt it if that was accurate.
Fuck.
A year to figure out cybersecurity for them, giving them someone else to blame when their system gets hacked. What everyone failed to realize, though, is that giving one company kernel access to the computers of most Fortune 500 companies might actually be a bad idea, because it only takes one automatic update with a misplaced 0 to nearly destroy the entire world. This has been the Code Report.
Okay, thank you.
So
that's
I do
actually-
kind of disagree
Yeah,
with some of that stuff, but
Oh,
yeah,
shit,
go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, so one thing is like it is easy to say like, oh yeah, just don't run it at the kernel level. Which when he's talking about the kernel level, he's talking about how the software runs at like the deepest level of the computer.
The operating system, the deepest level, how like the system,
Yeah.
the computer just works, right?
Yeah.
At the kernel level. Yeah.
So in general, you want to avoid writing programs there for this reason, that it could crash the computer if there's anything wrong with it. But the thing about like security software is that if it wasn't running at that level, then it wouldn't have visibility into a lot of the stuff. It would be so much easier for me as an attacker to just bypass this stuff, because I can always like go to the deepest level with my hacks. So if I'm at a deeper level than what the antivirus or the EDR is, then I can just go under the radar and it can't detect me.
Right. Did the fix, so they had a description of the fix, was that generally correct? I mean, as far as you know, in the way in which they would go through and fix each of the systems individually, because you've mentioned this is something that's going to have to be remedied individually. So I mean, like, you know, PC by PC. So just
I think they gave a specific example of a more complicated scenario just to like exaggerate it, I think, a little more.
Sure.
But a lot of the fixes involve like you go in and you have to click like a few buttons, boot it into safe mode, because in safe mode your computer will start up. So just to give like a basic background on this, it's a driver file. A driver, there's code in it that says, hey, on load, do this thing. And when you boot up your computer, it will boot up a bunch of drivers that will run code like on startup of your system. And so the fix for it is boot into safe mode, because then in safe mode, it doesn't load those drivers. So the one that's loading and crashing your computer, it's not going to load it. And that way you can delete the file and then you can reboot and your computer won't crash.
Okay. But once again, I mean, the biggest thing is a human has to go in there and do that.
Yeah, and if you think about like a real company, they have thousands of servers, you know, and maybe tens of thousands of servers. And those servers are not normally just in their closet. They're in like a server room somewhere. They got to go and each individual server and plug the thing in and do this activity to delete the file. And here's the thing as well that someone brought up when I was researching some of this stuff. I'm like, oh man, this sucks. So some companies use what is called some companies basically use like an encrypted drive for extra security. So in order to boot those systems, they need an encryption key so they can decrypt the drive and then use the computer. And those encryption keys are sitting on a server somewhere that's affected by this boot looping. So now when you try and go and fix 5,000 servers, it's like, hey, John, do you remember the the encryption key for these 5,000 different servers, which are all different off the top of your head? Because if you don't, then yeah. So there's some implications to this.
So there. Oh God. Okay, so they totally that. Okay. But like, obviously, is that just like they didn't think through their IT architecture where they would set up something like that? Because that sounds like you just basically think like, okay, if something infects kernel level access, then it's gonna fuck us completely. Like, is that just them fucking up and not thinking through it or not understanding cybersecurity? Like, what's like, how do you fuck up like that?
No one really knows how it happened, but we know exactly what the issue is. Somehow that file, that driver file, got overwritten with a bunch of zeros in the beginning of the file. I don't know if they just mixed up two files and lost track of something, but I mean, clearly they screwed up somewhere, but there's a bunch of zeros at the beginning of that file. So basically what the reason it's crashing is when the file is running, it's trying to access some area of memory that doesn't exist because it's just all zeros, and that's why it's crashing the computer.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh yeah, by the way, 200 Watt Series said, "What's up, losers? What's up? What's up?" Billy Hokie said, "Windows Defender Master Race." Let's see here. Arizona Anime Fan says, yes, other solutions out there, but they're the guys helping Congress write the regulations, helps them stay ahead of changing ITR and HIPAA, etc. cybersecurity regulations. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very, very true. And it's always very funny that, to me, when I look at the regulations that are in just any part, whether they're stuff involving intellectual property or digital intellectual property or cybersecurity or whatever else, anything that's IT related generally is woefully behind when it comes to the laws and the regulations, right? There's still a lot of areas of the law, they're still looking at most digital solutions the same as they would a printing press or anything else, which in some ways it may be okay, but in other ways you have to think about it in a more nuanced fashion, right? And one thing that comes up, which we'll look at in a second, is the terms and conditions, right? Because I want to actually go over those with you, because I have CrowdStrike's terms and conditions,
okay.
and it's very fascinating to me what they say their terms and conditions are. Okay. But yeah, let's see. And Arizona Anime Fan continues saying Hillary had them discover the Russian hack of the DNC. The FBI let them do it. They later admitted in testimony before Congress under oath there was no Russian hack. Yes, that is very true. There was never a Russian hack. Ultra Noob says, I'm a DBA and our ERP DB and others went down because of this. We had to restore hope that there wasn't any data corruption, and our shop is only 5 guys and took 6 hours for disaster recovery. Luckily, it was at 3:30 p.m. on a Friday. What do you think about that, Ryan?
That's another thing. This happened on a Friday too, so that really sucks for people.
It's like, oh yeah, well, we're not going home,
Well, that's the thing. Like CrowdStrike, they pushed this code change on a Friday.
What a fucking
for maximum effectiveness.
On the way out. So okay, let's talk about what probably happened on CrowdStrike's level. I mean, it comes out this is probably just a patch or an update, right? That was not properly screened or debugged, or like they didn't go through the proper process of going through this update.
Yeah, so in software development, you're supposed to, like, you have different environments. So you have like a test environment that you can test things out before you push it into production. It sounds like clearly they didn't use that. I don't know the inside on it, but
like that's just, it sounds like that's really negligent.
Who knows? Like these systems are very complex and stuff. Maybe their environment was not mimicking their production environment, which is also like their fault. But either way, clearly they didn't catch this beforehand. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Yes.
And we got one here. Drunk Finn says, hey guys, Andrew, you've talked about how racist Asian Europe is and how people would be surprised for that. For example, Swedes call Finns slaves and peasants. That's all right because they're all gay. Listen, I work with there's a Finnish guy who works with one of my friends, and the stuff he says about everybody else in Scandinavia, oof, spicy. It's great. Stephen Miller, welcome as a member. Appreciate you. Let's see. Mexican Iron Man. What's up? Oh, what's up, Mike? Good to see you, brother. Bro, this thing ruined my Friday. I had clients coast to coast USA blowing me up, everything from ADP payroll, not processing for people not getting paid, right? All the way to banking issues, freaking accounting, banking nightmare. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. And this just shows like how it can have a ripple effect down the line, because it looks like doing research on this to me, and the video showed this is like across Fortune 500 companies in different sectors. So it was able to hit this outage was able to hit different sectors, not just one sector, right? Not just like all airline or all,
I mean, just to put it pretty simply, anyone that's using CrowdStrike EDR was impacted.
Right. So from what I'm seeing here about Windows, at least, and this is one article that I saw from The Guardian, but Microsoft, in a blog update from its vice president of operating system security, David Weston, said it estimated 8.5 million Windows devices had been affected around the world. That might even be conservative, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that sounds low to me compared to what I would expect. Yeah.
Worldwide, maybe even more, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and obviously this was...
another funny thing about Microsoft, right? They have a cloud platform called Microsoft Azure where you can spin up virtual machines and stuff. Their cloud platform went down as well because their cloud VMs are running Windows, and using CrowdStrike.
Wait, hold on. So they won't be able to remote in to the computer to fix it, right?
That's the thing about this one. You can't fix it remotely, even if you had remote access, because it's constantly like it can't even boot up is the problem.
Oh,
so you have to go to it. Yeah,
that's real fucked, because like that makes it even more difficult. So if you've completely outsourced, right, or partially outsourced, that may be a real fucking pain in the ass.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. Wow. That's actually crazy. Sigrun says, I almost got stuck in Charlotte overnight because of the CrowdStrike thing. I landed back in my home state literally hours before the event. You got lucky, sir. Got lucky. Let's see. Okay, I think that's what I want to get there. And then, of course, by the way, after this came down, we had people saying it's from USA Today. Does Congress need to step in? Right. Within hours of the outage, some lawmakers and cybersecurity experts discussed whether Congress or the Biden administration and the Department of Homeland Security need to add more regulatory guardrails to make sure such an outage of this magnitude doesn't happen again. Paul Rosenzweig, a former DHS Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy, said the best response to Friday's outage would be to require companies and governments to have redundant systems so they have a backup when their systems go down. Asking companies to do that on their own would be prohibitively costly, and few would do it. But it would be hard for Congress or the Biden administration to require them to do it without doing the same in the government, which would be time-consuming and astronomically expensive. Can you explain this? Like, is there okay, this sounds like really, really not like something that's like not going to happen. And based on what you described and like what you said, like how the fix goes, it doesn't sound like there's much they could do for quote unquote redundancy. Is there? Yeah, go ahead.
All that stuff sounds good in theory until you try to put it into practice, because if you have these redundant systems, maybe they're working systems, but are they up to date on the current data? Like either they're going to be way behind and they're going to experience a massive data loss because like these backup systems are not completely synced with what's current, or if they are, that means they probably require internet access. So if they require internet access as an attacker, that's great. I'm going to go after the backup systems, screw going after the normal systems. And if they're going to want to, if they're going to expose it like that, they're going to try to secure it, right? So they're going to put CrowdStrike EDR on those backup systems, which is going to do absolutely nothing in a case like this, right? Or they don't put CrowdStrike EDR on it, and now that's like an easier target for me to go for as an attacker. So why would I go after the main, why would I go try to breach the front gate when there's like a gaping hole in the side?
So that's a way in which like you could get regulation that ends up making it easier it ends up making it easier to compromise the systems, right?
Yeah, because attackers, they're known to go after backups all the time. The reason being is usually that's easier and less guarded.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Because everyone's so focused on the front gates. Yeah.
They're ignoring the back door, right?
Yeah.
They're just leaving it wide open. let's see here. Veritech says some corps will get rid of CrowdStrike and go with the competitor, but the same practice may be present at the competitor that led to the issue. It's an industry problem, frankly. AI is not the solution. Well, okay, there's two parts to that. Number one, I guess the first question is, are the competitors any better? That'd be one. And number two is the AI component. So I guess maybe do kind of 1-2 there.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, CrowdStrike, like I said, they are like the leading ones in terms of, I think, a lot of people that, that are on cybersecurity defense and stuff like that, they say that it has like the most advanced features or whatever. But the funny thing about it is, even with the capabilities of CrowdStrike, I've seen so many, because I'm on the offensive side, so I have to bypass this stuff a lot. And I see so many people like not configuring it correctly and just using, like, not even getting the benefit of it because they don't even know how to configure it in the first place. And then it's really easy to fly under the radar anyways. But there are some big competitors out there as well that could potentially take over if this is a big enough PR hit for them. I guess it depends. Like, have they reached that level of Google where, like, even if they screw up, people are going to be like, well, it's Google, I'm going to still use it for my search engine? Or are these companies willing to try some of these other solutions? That I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. And by the way, do you know what the name is? Like, is there a Pepsi? They're the Coca-Cola. Like, do you know the name of the Pepsi or the other major competitor they have?
Yeah, so this is not my area. It's more defense, but there are other ones. Like, I think there's like Carbon Black. There's what is it? Huntress. There's
I'm reading Sentinel One.
Sentinel One, yeah, that's a big one.
Okay.
I'm losing. Let's see. Yeah, there's a number of other competitors. I don't know how they stack up because I don't actually work on the defensive side.
Right.
I will say that, like, this is the one that I'm coming in contact with the most from an offensive perspective is people using CrowdStrike, I would say.
Okay, so people here
Windows
are saying
Defender for Endpoint is another really big one, I believe.
Defender E2, Huntress, and Sentinel.
Yeah, those are like the three biggest ones, I would say.
Carbon Black.
There's also Palo Alto and Sophos. Yeah, okay.
And Carbon Black was the first EDR to market.
Yeah.
Can you talk about AI? So in what way? So when people throw around AI way too flippantly, which is why you're laughing.
Even you noticed that as not a non-tech person. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no, I know, because I'm like, it's not actually AI though, guys. Like, it's like, and what you think
it's
that it's
just guys in India. Come on, guys. It's just a sweatshop.
You said it, not me. I mean, what's the difference between 500 guys in Bangalore and AI? Spot the difference.
Oh no, that's a tough one.
Oh, God,
I'm sure you heard the story on like Amazon Just Walk Out or whatever, how they canceled that. They found out it was just like a bunch of guys in India watching you through the camera. Like they marketed it as it was like AI or something, but it turns out that it was just a bunch of people in India watching you through the camera, and they decided not to pay them anymore, so they discontinued the service.
Oh, fuck.
You didn't know that one? I'm guessing.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. That's so good. Yeah, they're the same picture me. God. It's just the difference. It's just Indians watching, generating a photo for you. Oh God. Oh, I love it. It's so based. Okay, that's right. It's so great. Okay, I'm fucking dead right now. I already got in trouble this morning because I was talking about China and not caring about DEI, which we're gonna get to. There's a DEI component of this today. We'll get to eventually, but oh God, Max Mora, DNA powered by Mother Cow. God damn you. All right. Mesrova Palma says the worst thing with CrowdStrike is that this will make companies more hesitant to let system has been patched. The WannaCry issue was great because they finally let us install patches. This may reverse it. What do you think on that, Ryan?
Well, I think like that wasn't at the kernel level, I don't think. So the real issue is that this was an issue at the kernel, because like if I try to put this in layman's terms as much as possible, you have user space and you have kernel space, right? So like when
in a Windows system, right? In a Windows system, because that's what is it? It's microkernel versus monolithic, right?
Well, actually, the user space and kernel space exists in everything. It exists in Windows, Linux, and Mac as well. Now, the reason that, so in user space, everything is isolated. So like, for example, if your Chrome were to crash, that would kind of suck because your stream would die, but like your computer would be fine. Like you wouldn't have to reboot your computer if your Chrome crashed. And the reason for that is because all of those processes are isolated. They have what we call like virtual memory addressing. So it's taking your physical memory and virtualizing it and isolating it. Now in the kernel, it's all just shared memory. So that means if anything running in the kernel crashes, the entire kernel crashes. And if your kernel crashes, your computer just like blue screens basically.
Yeah, you're fucked. So obviously the less you can have going on there, the more minimal is probably better, right?
Yeah, exactly. Usually it's just like Microsoft signed drivers and stuff like that you would be running on there.
Arizona Anime Fan says, my company uses C.Strike till August 23rd. Our bean counters didn't want to pay 1.5 million a year for it.
Yeah, there's so much money to be made in cybersecurity. So I mean, that's like one of those things is like if you're looking for a skill set that where the money is and where like the demand is going to be. Well, like these companies are paying so much for these solutions. It's insane.
Look what he just said here. Look, lots of overtime to replace it. Pay a guy like Elevate Cyber 5031 to help out. Very happy now about it. There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
There you go.
So there's your solution. And just in general, I was going to talk about this. Does this show the need for more people in cybersecurity or less? What does this kind of demonstrate more from the industry as a whole and kind of the needs of cybersecurity? Yeah,
so I would say for this, well, just to put in context, because maybe you don't understand exactly what this tool does, and like probably a lot of people watching don't. So the purpose of an EDR is to generate alerts. So that's why it's used in like corporate environments, and like you or I wouldn't have an EDR because we're just going to use antivirus, right? So in a big company, they use antivirus and they use EDRs. So like antivirus will block like mostly the known threats. So like if there's like a known malware or whatever, you would hope that your antivirus would step in and prevent it from running on your computer. Now, there's a lot of things that these companies would want to alert on, but maybe not necessarily block. So there's certain common attacks and stuff that they want to generate an alert for, so their security team can go and what we call triage the alerts. They get a bunch of these alerts and they look through them and they investigate to see what's legit and what is like false positive. And the reason that they want to like set up these alerts to not necessarily block everything, because these companies have like a lot of data flowing through all the time. So if they tune these rules too tightly, then it'll end up blocking people from doing their regular job. So the purpose of an EDR is to collect all this telemetry data and kind of piece things together and generate alerts based on rules that they set up. So they need an entire security team to triage these. And in a real environment, a lot of times they have so many alerts that like it's like the boy who cried wolf, basically.
So because you're saying they can take that data and set their alerts at given parameters, right?
Exactly.
So just like you could set an alert if you're, I don't know, like in a car, if your speed goes over a certain amount, right? You could set it to like give you a warning or whatever else, right? In the same way you can set it sensitive or more sensitive or less sensitive, right? So what you're saying is there might be so many alerts that it's like impossible for your team to ever triage all of those alerts, or it might lack sensitivity, right? Where it allows something to slip through potentially on both ends of that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's like a huge like curve for them as well, as like balancing that and figuring out the right amount, because a lot of these companies just have so many generated that like they have a hard time even going through them. So but that's the purpose of the tool though, basically. And
that would be monitored by their internal IT team, right?
Their internal security team would handle that. Yeah, their defensive cybersecurity team.
Yep. Let me see. Petros Ladokis for €5. I personally find the fact this mess happened a few days before the U.S. government banned Kaspersky antivirus absolutely hilarious. They banned Kaspersky?
Yeah,
really?
They did, because it's owned by so these so just like we're talking about with the EDR,
because there's too much Russian.
It's because these like I was saying, for visibility, these products need to run at the kernel level. Because if they don't, then they're just not going to be able to, they won't have visibility into certain attacks that are deeper than whatever level the antivirus is at. So Kaspersky is a Russian-owned company that's running in the kernel of your PC, meaning at any point, if Russia really pressed them, they would have full access to your machine.
Привет. You're cyber fucked. Billy Oakson, I got an SP for you in Discord DMs. Let me see if I can find that. Okay, I'll get that. I'll get that eventually. Thank you, Billy. Appreciate you, brother. Base chat over there in Singapore. Vertex with 10 says some corporations will get rid of CrowdStrike. Go with got that one. Thank you. But yeah, in talking about industry problem, talking about AI, and once again we got into AI being kind of over memed. Wade for 20 saying the need for PXE fallback on crash ever increases. What PXE stands for?
I'm not sure about the acronym actually.
PXE. Physical? Maybe? I don't know. Yeah, PXE. That's the.
It sounds like it's some kind of mitigation or some kind of something like that.
Yeah. Just trying to make sure I get your super chat here, but thank you. Pre-boot execution environment. Okay. The set of standards enables the computer to load an operating system over a network connection. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you, Wade. Gin Blades. I've been cooking for 3 days. The meme is done. Do you want it today or even more fun? We're like, if you've got a meme for me, just fucking send it, bro. Just send it. We're getting to this part, which is the question of the day and why people tune into Legal Mindset. Chipmunk of Vengeance says, will there be litigation involved in the scale? So this was from the same article with The Guardian, right? And it's very interesting right here. So they talk about it is difficult to say how much the outage costs businesses, right? So it's that wasn't good. Okay, it just like fucking took the Guardian out. But anyway, saying it's unlikely to know how much it's going to cost them, but their prediction, which was these authors like looking at this, were saying that it is unlikely businesses would receive compensation for their losses. So I'm going to tell you right now, but they're saying the losses are material, they're significant, and we hope businesses can weather the sort of impact. There's also there's not just time, money. I mean, it disinfected hospital systems. I mean, we're talking like potential wrongful death issues. Like,
from my non-legal point of view, it would be insane to me if they got away without having to pay.
So let me read the TOS. And of course, like Ryan, I love reading TOS because they're getting more and more insane, like over time. Like TOS are getting to the point where TOS at this point, like they honestly usually read like this. Hey, we're not responsible for anything. Fuck you. You can't sue us. If you want to arbitrate, you've got to go arbitrate in Iceland and we're not giving you shit. So good luck. Like that's a lot of TOS. So when I scrolled over here to CrowdStrike, they've got their TOS on their website, right? You can just look this up yourself. And now they may have, right? They would probably have individual contracts, which would have additional terms and service. So this is probably not all they have, right? But this is definitely a baseline. Once again, you can see this on their website. You can go in, right, and read the TOS here. Now, I don't want to read the whole thing. There's a lot of definitions, and we can scroll up and look at those at some point if they're necessary. But what I really wanted to get down to is indemnification. Indemnification means what you're covered for in case of a lawsuit or something getting fucked up, right? So I want to read to you what CrowdStrike's quote unquote obligation is, right? So here's their obligation legally, right? According to their terms of service. CrowdStrike shall, at its cost and expense, defend and settle any claim brought against customer, meaning the end user, by an unaffiliated third party alleging that an offering infringes or violates a third party's intellectual property right. Meaning, if anybody sues them because using CrowdStrike violates that other person's intellectual property, that CrowdStrike is going to defend its own intellectual property. Okay. All right. Okay. Well, no shit. Otherwise, you don't have a product. That means if they didn't promise this, they could just sell you peanuts and walk away and not have to give a fuck. So, okay, you're going to defend your own intellectual property. Congratulations. Right. Number 2, pay and indemnify any such settlement of a claim or damages to a third party by a court of competent jurisdiction as a result of such claim, meaning only for IP. They only promise to pay settlement and damages related to IP claims, right? provided that the customer gives prompt notice of such claim, right, permits CrowdStrike to solely control and direct the defense and settlement. This is a huge one, right? So in a lawsuit, they've got to turn over all the power to CrowdStrike, right? And however, CrowdStrike will not settle any matter without their prior written consent, and you have to provide them with all reasonable assistance in connection with the defense or settlement, right? At CrowdStrike's cost or expense. So they do pay for it, but you've got to do whatever the fuck they say. You're their bitch, right? You're their bitch. Okay, here we go. I think this is it. Okay. Hold on one second here. Okay, exclusions. CrowdStrike shall have no obligation under the section. The claim rises out of any modification not made by CrowdStrike. So if you touch the software, you're fucked, right? Any combination or use of the applicable offering with any third-party software, hardware, process, firmware, or data. So essentially, if you're combining use of this with anything else, that violates their indemnification.
And I wonder if they're gonna be able to say like, "Oh, well, you deleted this file, so that was tampering with it." So, although it did occur before they deleted the file, but I don't know.
Yeah, and customers continue use of the allegedly of infringing offering after being notified of an infringement claim and their failure to use it in accordance with the applicable documentation. Right? Who the fuck reads the documentation, right? Or use of it outside the scope of this agreement. Right. So once again, it's very, 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 very limited here. Very, very, very limited. So they're really not going to give you much in terms of indemnification there. Now, real quick. Okay, here we go. So there's another part I wanted to read, and that's about what's like commercially reasonable to kind of fix the product and correct it. Let me go up here. The warranty, right? Because they have to give a warranty as well. This is in section 8. So, okay, this is great. This is actually really fucking great. Okay, here's the warranty, right? So no warranty for pre-production version. Any pre-production feature or version of this offering provided to a customer that is experimental and provided as is without warranty of any kind will not create any obligation for them to continue to develop, productize, support, repair, or offer. Do you know in what sense this one? In what sense do they give companies pre-production versions of a software? Is that a common practice, or is that relatively rare?
I would think it's rare. I mean, I don't really.
Yeah,
I can't really think of that happening too often.
Like, especially with like a cloud-based software pushing out pre-production. I don't think this is going to apply.
Especially for larger companies. I know like smaller companies might be like, "Oh, well, we'll let you beta test our software," or something like that. But I don't know. I think that's mostly what it is. Like if they want to beta test the software with maybe some of their big clients, I don't know if they actually do that or not. But that's what comes to mind.
Yeah, it's clearly talking about a beta test. Like that's clearly what it is. But like, would you actually do that? I mean, maybe, but I
don't think so.
That probably not applicable. So going down to 8.2, this is the product, right? So if customer has purchased a product, here we go. Everybody's purchased this. You're all paying, God help you, $189 per device. Jesus Christ, per year. Okay. Customer warrants to CrowdStrike warrants to customer during the applicable period the product will operate without error.
Ooh.
Now, let's put a little pin in this and let's go up to what error means, right? Because the definition of error, you need to go up and be like, what does error mean? Operate without error, right? So let's go up here. Doop, 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 doop. What does error mean? Okay. Means a reproducible failure of a product to perform in substantial conformity with its applicable documentation. I mean,
well, I doubt the Windows sad face is in the documentation, so I guess that would constitute it in my non-legal opinion.
I guess bricking the computer in the documentation, it's end user tech data, right? I think bricking the computer is not what they're promising you to do. So I think that does constitute as an error. So we're gonna go with that, right?
Yeah, we'll go with
Okay. Okay. Here we go. That CrowdStrike has used industry standard techniques. This is what I always love. And I tell you guys about this all the time on my channel. I say, watch this fucking weasel word of industry standard, because an industry standard is constantly changing, right? And it's subjective. It's not objective. It's actually subjective, because if everybody is not doing it, then it's not industry standard. If nobody does it, then it's not an industry standard.
Well, I mean, if like 3 other EDR companies start blue screening computers, and I guess that would be industry standard now. So
yeah. You get pricked. To prevent the products at the time of delivery from injecting malicious software viruses into, if it's a, okay, hold on, I like this.
Wait.
It only promises you it's not going to inject a malicious software virus, but it can inject a friendly virus, like a happy virus.
Yeah, that's the thing too. And this is something that like people on the technical side were talking about. In this case, it was like a fairly benign error in the sense of like it is crashing your computer. Right. But what if it were to be that, because you see this happen all the time. This is called like a supply chain attack, where an attacker will get into your code base and start injecting malicious code. Well, if an attacker got into their code base and injected some malicious code into that driver, then imagine, instead of just blue screening 8.5 million computers, attacker would be able to compromise 8.5 million computers at the kernel level. So that could have very well happened as well.
Yeah. And I just realized I forgot to post the link on Twitter, so I'm going to post that right now. But yeah, no. So there you go. Into your endpoints where the products are installed. You must notify CrowdStrike of any warranty claim during the subscription order term. I'm sure people have notified them. I'm sure they're notifying them right now. Okay, here's the best part. And this is what we're talking about. Will there be a lawsuit? Your sole and exclusive remedy and the entire liability of CrowdStrike for the warranty. So this is under their terms of service. This is all they claim you can do. This is all they say. You cannot do anything else. Exclusive remedy means this is it. This is all you motherfuckers get. Is for CrowdStrike at its own expense to do at least one of the following, right? Okay. So they get to do one of the following. They get to pick, okay? Get ready. A, use commercially reasonable efforts to provide a workaround or correct such error. It's option number 1, commercially reasonable. We'll talk about that in a second. And then number 2, they can choose to just go with number 2 and just terminate your license to access and use the application non-conforming products and refund the prepaid fee prorated for the unused period of the subscription order and term. CrowdStrike shall have no obligation regarding errors reported after the applicable subscription order term. So technically right now, they could tell everybody to pound sand, fuck off, and terminate their licenses and fix nothing. Technically, they can do that. Technically, they can just tell everybody to fuck off right now and just terminate it and leave them and walk away. I'm not kidding. They can. Well, I was about to say
they definitely have not done option A, because there was no way. Yeah, like they didn't provide any fix for this. Well, I mean, I guess they gave a document walking through the steps. I don't know if that counts, but
maybe that's commercially reasonable. Maybe all that commercially reasonable they have to do is tell you how to fix it, and then you got to go fix it, because that's what everybody in the industry would do.
Maybe they did go option A then, now that I think about it, because I remember they did release some steps saying, hey, do this to fix it.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, that's it. And yes, guys, I'm very aware that if they did option B, that's career suicide, that's corporate suicide. But when you have a certain amount of liability, at some point you might be like, yeah, no, we're out. Peace. Now, I want to be very clear about terms of service, guys. Very fucking clear about this and the EULAs and everything else. Judges routinely wipe their ass with this shit and will say, yeah, we're not. This is ridiculous. Because if this was any other product, this warranty is dog shit, right? So you're saying that people are buying a product, they're paying for a subscription, right? And this is what you're delivering? Yeah, no. That's not going to work out.
Yeah, like, that's pretty crazy.
What the fuck are they paying for? Like, what the fuck are they paying for? Right? If you're just gonna, drop something, give them some paperwork, walk away and say, oh, that's commercially reasonable.
Hey, thanks for the 180 per device though.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Appreciate that. That's a fucking scam. That's a scam. And
That's actually a scam. Yeah.
A judge is going to look at that and be like, yeah, no. So, I mean, the ability for these terms of service to be, once again, ridiculously worded. I think we talked about this going over Adobe. We went over Adobe like a week or two ago. And
oh God, I don't even want to imagine what their terms of service must have been like.
Oh, and they had a forced arbitration clause and everything else going in there. So, and they wouldn't let you, when they updated their terms of service, they wouldn't let you cancel in response to their update. So now they're being sued. So it's like, and look, a lot of judges, particularly places like Europe that are very like legit, like regulatory, they're not gonna, this stuff is not gonna fly with them. And I'm sure that in various countries, people are gonna look at this and they're gonna say, yeah, just no, we're not gonna, this is worthless, right? Oh, and let me read the second one here. Services warranty. CrowdStrike warrants to you that it will perform all services in a professional and workman-like behavior consistent with generally accepted industry standards. This is so fucking lawyer speak. It means goddamn nothing. Professional and workman-like.
Professional workman-like.
Consistent with general standards. Well, is the blue screen?
Yeah, I think they violated that one.
Yeah, you must notify CrowdStrike of any warranty claim for services during the period or after 30 days at the conclusion. Your sole and exclusive remedy is once again, for CrowdStrike to use commercially reasonable efforts to reperform the non-conforming services, or B, to refund the portion paid, right? So they can just refund what's left on your contract and just walk, right? And just walk. So, that's what you get, guys. And that's what you get. And aside from that, they disclaim all other warranties. So there's no other warranties given. That's it. That's all, right? That's all, folks. And they're not responsible for fucking anything else. So there's your liability. Fun with that.
On Twitter, I was reading a bunch of people that are working on the defensive side where they're talking about how they had meetings with different people within CrowdStrike, and a lot of times those CrowdStrike guys were like very arrogant about like how their product was like superior to like everyone else and all this stuff I've heard. So it's kind of funny to see that blow up on them.
How's that working out for you? Steven says this TOS reminds me of the 3 South Park episode with the cable company rubbing their nipples with a customer.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry.
Also,
yeah, no.
It reminds me of the Apple one. It's like, why can't it read? So good. But do appreciate y'all. And thank you for the super chats. Japanese Demon Lord Abari Lucifer says, how to avoid TOS. Someone else clicked agree. To be honest though, like there's something to be said for that, right? If somebody else was the one who was in there from analyzing it from a contractual basis. But I think we need to get away from terms of service and analyzing them like contracts, because there's not parity on both sides. There's a disparity. So we do need to treat TOS in a way where there's more things that are prohibited from the granting party, where they just can't put things in their TOS. So because it's pretty much what we call a contract of adhesion, right? So it's like, well, use this thing or your fucking operating system doesn't work, right? Or whatever else.
Yeah.
It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts. Let's see what else. Einander says, I'm so sick of all the companies EULA roofing. When are we going to do something about crazy ass shit and non-signed contracts? I think it's coming soon. I mean, we do need to have certain things that are not prohibited. I think forcing arbitration should not be there. I think you should be allowed to do it if you want to agree to arbitration, but you shouldn't be forced to seek arbitration with a company that they want in a place they want, right? That's one example. And that's something that's just got to come down on a regulatory side, and it's got to come down from the countries.
Also, is that how it works? They will they'll tell you where the trial or where the court thing is going to take place. Okay.
So they'll say, hey, you've got to you've got to litigate this in Mumbai, right? And it's like, well, you're kind of fucked there, right?
Mhm.
So let's see. I just want to check over here, make sure I got everything. Oh, and thank you. Someone sent me a meme. Is it meme? Okay. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Here we
let's
go.
see it.
This is a pretty good one right here. Crowdstrike, global shutdown. Very good. Very good. Very good. Appreciate that. Very solid. Thank you, man. Leprechaun Gold, thank you for the $20 super sticker. Einander said, insert Willy Wonka. You get nothing, sir. Good day. Good day. That's kind of the take from the TOS. Now, I don't know if you saw this, Ryan, but are you aware that Crowdstrike is very, very much committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and they are going to be challenging the status quo?
Of course.
So people got mad. People got mad at Elon for kind of just taking a shot at them because he kind of responded to a post here that somebody had circulated in March of 2022, where it says, we're proud to be a gold partner of Bright Network's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging panel. Our team shared their career journeys and tips on how we are creating an equitable and inclusive workplace for all. And this is Bright Network, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. So he responded, there's a little thing in the way, but not really bright right now, is it? Right? It just in response. Once again, this is Elon fucking trolling him. This is Elon being like, yo, listen, this is fucking hilarious that corporations spend so much time on this.
Yeah.
I mean, we obviously can't tell whether this is something that I'm going to have to go down into the company itself and figure out the employees and whatever else. But certainly it doesn't look good when companies are perceived as spending time and resources doing things that have no relation to the final outcome, right? And I think just as a whole, and I don't know if you've seen this at all, but I was covering this with Microsoft. Microsoft actually fired their whole DEI team. Were you aware of that?
I think I heard something on it, but yeah.
I just think for me in corporate and watching corporate, I think people are waking up to it. And I think they're saying, hey, look, this is getting kind of ridiculous. So we've got to actually focus on what makes us money and what causes our product to perform, and a little bit less on this other bullshit. But yeah, do I think that was necessarily the reason? No. Am I trying to be, it's a conspiracy? It was definitely a woman who did. Who the fuck would know, right? And we're probably never going to know. And by the way, if it was, they would never expose that. Are you fucking kidding me right now? But it is a funny thing. I just laugh about it. Bella, thank you for the 79 dinar. Thank you so much. Appreciate you being here before the channel, before the stream started as well. Thank you so much. No need. Thank you for the epic fail, Hippo. Thank you. And Frostbit says TOS like that makes me wish for tar and feathering was still a thing. Yes, and that's why tar and feathering these people in the court of public opinion is very, very, very important.
Oh yeah, there is one thing that I wanted to mention as well, is when all this stuff started happening, a bunch of attackers took to the internet very quickly to set up fake websites pretending to be fixes for the issue. So they would use we call it typo squatting or stuff like that, where they would set up a domain, a website name that sounded very much like it could be legit, but it was actually some fake website to give you malware or something like that.
Yep.
It's a whole list of them they did. Another thing that's oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's kind of whenever there's a crisis, crisis for some people means panic, but for other people it means opportunity, right?
Yeah.
They're like, right now, what are people doing? Oh, they're trying to fix this, right? Mm-hmm. So if I come up with a service that's I can fix this shit for $100, I'm gonna fix all your issues in 2 seconds, right? And gotcha, or whatever else. There's ways to kind of catfish people, especially if you're not as clever. Now, obviously, I would hope that people at major corporations are more competent, but
well, here's the thing too. This is what I was gonna say next, was that you can actually use different alphabets. So this is what hackers like to do a lot as well, is they'll use something like the Cyrillic alphabet, and they will have like letters that are absolutely identical to the Roman letter. So like you could not tell, like, for example, there's certain O's in different alphabets that look identical to the English O. So there's no way that you could tell like at first glance, but to the computer, it's a completely different character. So there's things like that as well. So even if you do have sharp eyes out, it is pretty tough.
You may not be able to do it. Yeah, Unicode confusables. Yeah, those are definitely good ones. Those are definitely good ones. And I've seen that even with like on YouTube where people will create fake accounts, but they're able to do that because they replace one of those letters with like another Unicode, like, confusable, right? So they've got that just swapped out. And so it's somebody that's pretending to be you and, running around and doing all this shit. And it's not, according to the computer, it's not you, right? Let's see here. Anna said, challenging the status quo. Consider what happened and how they like to abuse the law with EULA, TOS. Can we take that as a threat? I mean, yeah, because the status quo was already pretty bad, but they want to push it worse regarding TOS. I mean, they essentially want to all be take it or leave it. We promise you nothing, which at a certain point, that's not selling a product. Especially if it's a software as a service or whatever else, where there's some sort of ongoing fee and you're paying for it, yearly, that's a fucking scam. Like,
have you noticed this as a trend? Have you seen this a lot in terms of services that are kind of like that?
Especially with yearly subscriptions or these.
Which nowadays, what isn't a yearly subscription nowadays?
Your fucking games are turning into that. Everything is turning into that, right? You'll have something that's a reoccurring charge because
you will own nothing and you will be happy. That's what they say, right?
And the subscription model looks good because people don't want to pay a big upfront, so they say, you know what, we'll just subscribe to this. Oh, look how cheap it is. Right, because we're looking at the per unit, right, and we're not factoring in all the other factors here. So we'll just go with this instead of a bespoke solution. But you end up paying way more, and it ends up fucking you, right, in the end. So got that one. Wolf's Pain says, talk to Kirsha about DI and Bridge. I had her on my show. Yeah, but I talk about DI and Bridge all the time. Hypnotic and Rapture says MS renaming it to D and I. Kirsha does not believe it. Yes. Diversity and inclusion. It's one name for it. Bridge is another. A DI, right? There's lots of ways to put it. By the way, this is something known to me by a professional gentleman. He emailed me today. In Canada, it is legal to discriminate. You just have to say it's on the base. It's with the intent to commit some sort of affirmative action, and you can discriminate in all sorts of different manners. It's actually legal in Canada. I read their charter. I mean, according to my read of their charter, I'm not a Canadian lawyer, but I understand English, which is the primary language of Canada. Sorry, French people. And that's what the charter says. So very interesting. Thank you, professional gentleman, for sending me that. By the way, I don't know if he's awake right now or not, but I think he's out there. But yes. That's what I got. So were there any other things that popped out to you, Ryan, about this incident, or kind of any lessons that can be like takeaways from this broader incident?
Yeah, that is the tricky part. I think like one of the guys was saying in your chat earlier, where it's like that's just how these things run. They run in your kernel. So anytime you have something there, if there's any kind of mistake, it does surprise me that this has not, to my knowledge, happened before. I mean, maybe it did, but I think now I guess one of the takeaways is like, it really makes you aware of how dependent we are on a small subset of technologies for the internet to just run normally.
Yes.
Because this impacted, as you saw, so many critical services. Also, I guess another takeaway is it is a bit of like what we would call a side channel attack. This is something I don't hear people talking about too much, but basically a side channel is like when one piece of information inadvertently gives away something else. So like here, just by the nature of like how many companies blue screened, now we know that they're using CrowdStrike. Now maybe that changes, maybe they stop using CrowdStrike, but that's actually valuable information for an attacker. So now if an attacker were to go and target any one of these companies, they'll have some internal information on them. They'll know what they're up against. They'll know, okay, this company is using the CrowdStrike EDR. So if I want to bypass it, I'm going to need to do the normal things that I would do to bypass CrowdStrike. So you
Right.
can know with like pretty good certainty who's using what now, just because their stuff went down. So
That's true. That's true. Because like if they were down, they're using CrowdStrike, so now you can like pinpoint that, and you've got another data point that can be used offensively against them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's cool. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, so I mean I think we've gotten everything there, guys. I mean, thank you guys. You guys had some great questions from the chat. But obviously I'll be monitoring this. I'll be looking for what's coming down from people in the government, from what comes down from, whether it's Europe, Australia, US, UK litigation coming out of this. I imagine that somebody's going to try at some point, because there's going to be big enough damage, and there's going to be some sort of claim, especially with third parties claiming against the company itself, right? So they're claiming against the Fortune 500 company. Let's say they had a major fuck up, they lost a client, right? Mike Mexican Iron Man was saying people weren't getting paid, right? There's add-on effects here, knock-on effects, and eventually those companies are going to turn and sue CrowdStrike, right? Eventually it's going to be end user to the company to CrowdStrike. That's how it's going to happen, right? They're just going to join them into the lawsuits. Eventually that will happen for sure. And by the way, JP Raven with 5 legal mindset memberships. Thank you so much. Absolutely 100% based. Thank you so much. And we will be having a member stream next. So if you've got one of those gift memberships, you'll be able to join. It's going to be for all members. We're probably going to go over reading the Sarah Boone letter, and then we'll probably go over some memes and some other fun stuff on the next one. Member chats are always fun, and they're very casual. So it's going to be a no suit member stream. And I just also want to promote here, because I didn't show it in the beginning. Ryan, you've got your consultations, and you've got your training, right? So people can come over to your elevatecybersecurity.net, right? And still and kind of get in contact with you here, right? Correct?
Yeah, best way if you want to get in contact with me is to send me a DM to my Instagram at Elevate Cyber,
Sure.
which I believe Andrew linked in the description.
Yep.
That'd be
Yeah,
the best way. On my website, it doesn't really go into the detail of my program. I'm going to overhaul that pretty soon. But yeah, if you want to learn more, if you want to talk on the side, just send me a DM on Instagram.
Cool. And you got them right here, Elevate Cyber on Instagram, right? Boom. You can do it right here. Go over there, give them a follow, check them out. Ryan's really great. He's going to be over here joining me in Bangkok very, very, very soon. Very excited
to move
about
over
that.
there. Yeah.
Bangkok.
I'm ready to get back there for sure. Yeah. Excited.
Oh, it's such a good time right now. It is so, and the weather is amazing right now.
Oh yeah.
But guys, check him out on YouTube. Check him out on Instagram. I'm going to add the Instagram link as well if you guys want to hit him up there. Thank you for joining, Ryan. Everybody, guys, thank you. And if you like these morning streams, please leave a message. These are morning EST US, but it's evening here for me in Asia. Let me know you like these. Let me know you prefer these. We've had over 600, almost 700. Actually, we had 700 at the peak here that we're joining. So if you guys like these streams, you like the time, make sure to leave a comment, because it is very, very important for me to know, hey, I like this. Please do more, right? Please do more. That's it, guys. Take care. Catch you later. Peace.
Emotional damage. Long